Hi guys, HyDra here, and I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. OpTic have confirmed when the ring ceremony will be taking place in Dallas, Texas, the scene of the crime. When OpTic won the World Championship last year in front of the green wall, it is now a very different story today. It's going to be on the Thursday. What does that mean though for the way that their season is going to run for the rest of the weekend? Because they may not even be playing on the Thursday if things continue as they presently have. Nadeshot also given his perspective on Kenny and his underperformances of late, and whether changing him will actually make the team any better. Very much interested in your thoughts on the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into today. One of my favorites was actually, this one. Look at into Ben's new YouTube video. I thought was pretty funny. Now, let's talk about this. 11 years ago, man, what a time this was. Some pictures that were doing the rounds yesterday. Just wanted to bring these up and take you on a little bit of a trip down memory lane, really, because yeah, think about that 11 years ago, pretty much at the World Championship in Call of Duty Ghost, right? I mean, we're talking COD Ghost 2014 in that season. This was the OpTic team, famously Nadeshot, Clayster, Proofy, and Scump. I mean, like, these pictures really do bring me back, right? It feels like an awful long time ago. So this was OpTic back then. This, of course, was FaZe Black. It's kind of remarkable to think about that when Formal pretty much first made the transition over to Call of Duty from Halo, he was famously doing an awful lot of team hopping, right? He was going from FaZe to Team Caliber to Envy, and then, of course, ended up on OpTic the next year in somewhat controversial fashion, right? Like, it was funny when Formal joined OpTic, there was a bit of a feeling among the OpTic fans that, damn, this guy is team hopping, right? Like, you know, is he as good as he thinks he is? This type of stuff. Of course, the rest there is history. Saint's glasses will always crack me up with, like, absolutely no reservations. Every single time I see a picture from this era when Saint is wearing these tiny little glasses, so funny. Saint's genuinely one of the more underrated players, I think, in the history of COD. Like, honestly, an incredibly talented player. One of the best players to never win the World Championship, in my opinion. Here's Doug, who basically looks the same as today, which is kind of impressive. And then Dido, a name that you guys may also know. Here's Complexity, and man, what an era this was. Here's Karma on the right-hand side. Obviously, you've got Kremp, TP, and then Aches. I mean, like, wow, some of these images really are, like, throwback ones. And this was the Team Envy team at the time, which is also absolutely epic. Here's Anthony Wheeler on the right-hand side. Of course, you've got Jay Stud as well. So, you know, Parasite and Merc, man, some of these images really were sensational stuff. And 11 years ago, can you believe it, how some of these times have changed? Quick update, because 11 years later, we're talking about Black Ops 7 or whatever it's going to be this year, and of course Modern Warfare 6 or Modern Warfare 4. Let me read the Roman numerals properly. Coming out next year, we think. But there was talk, of course, about the wall running movement, and apparently the movement, it's not going to be like Black Ops 3 wall running or like Infinite Warfare wall running. It's going to be more like parkour. So, like, I guess you can jump like on and off the wall or something. I'm not really sure. But maybe if you slide into the wall, it will like bounce you off it. I think it's going to look pretty crazy. I know that Shotzzy's hearing this, probably pretty excited. But it's not going to be full wall running. We think it's like parkour videos. So, you know, we'll see about that and how that actually translates into reality, I guess. This was cool to see, I thought. Neptune playing some 8s. One of the big questions, of course, that we have been having lately, and I do understand it, is that, well, someone like Kenny, for example, why is he not playing more 8s? Because he could. It's not an impossibility that he could grind a bit more. Now, I know that players like Kenny, they don't necessarily like playing 8s, but you can argue right now that it doesn't really matter. You should just be playing as much COD as you possibly can. That's an argument. Then again, he doesn't want to stream them, maybe, understandably, maybe. He doesn't want them to be streams because maybe people will roast him if he's not doing so well. That's how it will be, right? Like, if Kenny is playing 8 and has a bad map, people are going to be clowning him. But still, you know, people might say, if you're playing bad, you got to put in the extra hours. But still, it's, you know, we'll see what happens this weekend, I guess. Neptune says, though, Neptune, Skyz, Scrap and Tej versus HyDra, Johnny and Hook were playing a series of 8s. Thought that was kind of nice to see. But we also have a HyDra card, and this is a serious HyDra card. Octane, of course, hits the replies and says, I fear that they are back. Yeah, I fear that he's back. This is what it looks like so far. I mean, look, stage 1, HyDra had not an especially excellent cards compared to what what we'd normally expect. This stage, though, HyDra has leveled up substantially, and it really shouldn't be a massive surprise, especially with all the chaos unfolding over at Gentlemate. It's pretty clear that, okay, new game, new title, whatever, but HyDra was, as it turns out, a rather important piece of the success of that subliners team over the last couple of years, and without him as a trio, it has all collapsed, really, for that organisation. HyDra's now on the Thieves. Ghosty, I'm sure, is loving life, having managed to put together the super team here. And yeah, Cloud9 and subliners, as it were, they kind of allowed this to happen, right? HyDra went, they kept Sib instead, and this is what Thieves have managed to form for the season as it stands. They, of course, won the minor tournament just a couple of days ago, and they're currently 6-0 so far this stage. This is HyDra's cards. I mean, look, he's not actually a 99 overall. You'd think from the KDs he must be close. But in terms of pure like kills per 10, damage per 10, I mean, he's right up there. But the KD is irrelevant when it comes to coming up with a number. You look at the 3 numbers in the box, you take the 2 numbers that are the biggest, you add those together, you divide it by 6, and you come up with your overall number. So that's the thing, right? HyDra's not going to get punished for having basically no hill time. But this is the way that HyDra likes to play. And if Thieves can allow him to play like this, that is the scary thing, right? Because he's literally the worst player for hill time in his role in the league, which is exactly what you want, right? You do not want HyDra sitting in the hill. You want him roaming and slaying where necessary. So he's 50th, like he's 50 rated in that number in the league in his role. But it's the other ones that don't count. I mean, First Blood, he's 87. Damage per 10 in control, he's 80. So these aren't bad. But his numbers in the better ones are even better, right? And he currently does have the highest control KD for an SMG in the league right now in this stage so far. So yeah, 96 overall rated card from HyDra. Will he be able to keep it up? Well, we'll see. In previous seasons, if anything, he just tends to get a little bit better and better throughout the year, and it feels like HyDra and Envoy, they've put in work to find out how they're going to best play together, and it's working out rather well as it stands. And apart from FaZe and obviously Surge, at least online, it's difficult to see which other team is going to be able to properly compete here, because, you know, there's the midfield in COD right now is packed out of control. Like, who is better between even, let's say, Ravens? Like, let's say Ravens, Rocker, Toronto. I mean, you can maybe throw OpTic in there, Cloud9, among a couple of others. Like, who's better? If you had a tournament just of all those teams, who would win? And like, I know I've put OpTic in that conversation because, you know, in my head, I'm like, surely OpTic going to get good again at some point. But obviously, right now, they are weaker than all of those teams that I just mentioned. But speaking of OpTic, this is the ring ceremony. They've confirmed the date, not as yet the time, but we'll see. It may depend on what happens on the day. So, at the Credit Union of Texas Event Center, of course, where everything happens last year, they're going back there again this year. They won the World Championship there on the Sunday before. That's, of course, when this image is from, but they do not have the rings as of yet. And the plan would be to return to the scene of the crime and give the rings out to the team that won them in unbelievable fashion last year. However, they've gone back there in a rather different set of circumstances. The team right now is 0-3 in the qualifiers. They've not won a map in the qualifiers as yet. They beat Falcons, but it was at the minor, so it counted for 0 points right now. And then, of course, they bombed out shortly after that. So if the numbers are anything to go by, it is more likely than not that OpTic will be starting in the losers bracket for their home major, which means they don't play Thursday. So, you know, people have been saying, oh, here we go. Receive the rings on Thursday, bow out on Friday, and then make a roster change on Saturday. Look, I don't know about that, but it's gonna be an interesting one, right? What this is like. Look, it's great for the team to be able to get this moment. I think it's a really cool idea of having like a whole ceremony for it. People thought, oh, they might do it Friday because that's the day that they might play. You know, come out, collect the rings, go and play your match, win. Ideally, I don't know, but maybe doing it the Thursday is the way to go. They'll probably, I mean, will they do it before the day begins or they do it at the end of the day? Usually the end of the day is a bit more challenging just because, you know, the event's trying to close down, the people are trying to go home, you know what I mean? So probably they might do it at the start of the event, basically, before anything gets underway, bring the OpTic guys out and have them collect the rings in front of the fans. It's going to be a cool moment. And, you know, it's a great idea, as always, from OpTic Texas and from OpTic Gaming in general. But is it going to feel good on the weekend? And it's going to be fascinating to watch this because we don't really know whether they're considering making a move right now, at least as we're recording this video, and what the vibes are like internally at the camp. The idea of, you know, maybe Hook coming back in. That's what we thought, right? Back in January, it was talked about that, well, if Hook's gone and Pred's back, then maybe that opens the door to actually, you know, for Pred to collect his ring in person at this ring ceremony that people have been talking about. Like, it would have been strange had Hook still been on the team for him to, like, what, stand at the side while Pred comes up and collects his ring with his former team, that maybe he could have been there anyway. So that was all a bit strange. And look, I don't think this event is necessarily going to be affecting their decision making. And even if they were to, let's say, drop Kenny or bench Kenny or whatever, it's not like that would prevent him from coming on stage with the team and like picking up his ring, but it would be a bit of a strange moment, right? But that's the plan anyway. The Thursday they're making this move. Will they play on the Thursday? Right now it looks somewhat doubtful, but I wanted to share what Nadeshot had to say on this. He was watching the series, the end of the series against Toronto. Even this final map, of course, on OpTic side was not especially pretty, but he says, look, if you get rid of Kenny, is he the only issue? He certainly is an issue. He's not playing well, doesn't look comfortable. It can't be helping the team. The vibes can't be great. And Kenny's approach to winning COD just doesn't seem to be working right now. But maybe there's more to that than meets the eye.
The pressure on offense, it becomes a nightmare, and now you're gonna
after this week, you think Kenny gets benched? I don't really know what options they have, though. I mean, I didn't see the first two maps, so I don't know what they look like, but I don't know if it's necessarily just a Kenny issue. I mean, when somebody's not playing well from a stat line perspective, it's easy to pass the blame, but
and they get the kill as well.
I don't know if that's necessarily gonna answer their problems. Okay, so he didn't really play well in the search.
I'm glad he did.
Everybody kind of got rolled in the hard point. Yeah, I don't know, bro.
Good job of like dealing with him.
They're going through something, man. I'm not sure what it is, but they're definitely going through something.
So it's just kind of wild to think about that a team with Shotzzy, Kenny, Dashy, and Pred can possibly look as bad as they currently do. Like, the level of talent is absurd. And, you know, I was even watching back recently some of their success at the end of last season, the way that they were winning some of these series in Modern Warfare 3. Look, that was a different game. It, you know, felt different, it played different, and understandably, OpTic maybe are struggling to adapt to the way that Black Ops 6 goes. But it's kind of the same as when the OpTic dynasty was formed, if you want to call it that, back in World War II, when it was Scump, Crim6, Octane, and Methods. I know that I looked at that team at the time and said, this is a really weird team. But all of these guys are like walking 1.1 plus KDs. So it was difficult to imagine that, well, they'll just slay everything off the face of the map and then they're going to win. And to be fair, I actually think that an OpTic team from the World War II season was maybe even underrated in hindsight, because they actually were very good at hardpoint and maybe one of the best hardpoint teams in the game, at least in terms of their overall record. But when it really mattered, the team just didn't really work. Of course, Octane, Methods, and Krim, like, yeah, it wasn't really going to work from the AR side. They wanted John famously, but they couldn't get him. If you look back at that team and you see reasons why they should have been very good, and they, of course, bombed out top 24 at the World Championship. But then you still look at a team with Shotzzy. I mean, like, Shotzi's unbelievable, right? But he's just been, like, numbers-wise, been horrible recently. And look at the play that he makes here. Off the top rope, guns down aBeZy, and then absolutely destroys iLLeY. Like, iLLeY got, I don't know what this looked like from his POV, but to hit the sideways slide here and gun him in a couple of shots was just ridiculous. And it's not like Shotzzy has lost it, right? It's more like he's not been able to execute as they wanted to in the league right now. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Notably, of course, this weekend, OpTic played two series. They played Miami and they played Toronto. So they've just played Toronto with the Minot. They lost pretty badly. It was winnable, that's the thing. Like, if someone other than Dashy played well, it was winnable. The game one, though, was pretty bad, I thought. So, yeah, a bit of a concern there. Maybe they might lean a bit more red cards, because at least they beat Falcons on that emphatically, but that might not really be saying all that much. And we do have, again, pretty exciting, the Vancouver Surge LA Thieves rematch. It was the grand finals most recently. It took a best of 7 to get over the line. We know that Thieves' Search and Destroy was the stronger and was what got them the victory in the end. Now, there's 3 Search and Destroys in a best of 7 that they played, right? 2 Search and Destroys here in this best of 5, and Surge were able to take a couple of the respawns. If I had to predict the series, I'm taking Thieves because I think they're the stronger team and their Search is also better. But we saw that right a few days ago. But still, I mean, it's a banger game to kick off the weekend as well. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.